Greetings! This is one of those YouTube videos where they play Minecraft and they don't talk about Minecraft. So, I want to talk about topics, specifically videos about topics. And like in videos, they talk about a topic, usually. Not always, but usually. Or there's some topic, generally. What am I saying? Okay, so, I wanted to talk specifically more so about video essays and things that are at least somewhat like video essays. Like, just, they discuss a topic, and they make a point about that topic, or whatever. They just discuss it, one way or another. I love video essays. Let me start off. I love video essays. I think they're quite cool. Yeah, they're very cool. Video essays are very super cool, I think. Yeah, where was I? Video essays. I've always wanted to make a video essay. You know? I've always wanted to make one of those cool little video essays where they discuss a topic. But like, okay, so, and I've gone through, I've tried to write down topics to talk about, and there's topics that I kinda want to talk about, at least somewhat. Like, let's see here, I played World of Goo 2 the other day. It's very good. There's video essays about that, but there being video essays about something does not mean you can't make another one about it. Isn't really discussing here. There's like, I like Minecraft. You could always make a video essay about Minecraft. There's also, like, you could make some grander essay about society and the importance of community, because without community you kinda just suffer. But I don't really like the idea of making grand society focused videos. I want to focus on positive things, and like, I want to make like non-society based generally, unless it just naturally comes to that conclusion, which it could. It very much could. I really like game design. I've always wanted to make game design essays. Like, there's Game Maker's Toolkit, there's Rasputin. There's a lot of good video essays. I want to make video essays about those kinds of topics. Like, I mentioned Minecraft, I mentioned that one game. But there's also like fighting games. Even Fortnite could be fun. There's also like really niche things like Survivor. Niche. But to like wrap this round to the more so the points of what I'm trying to more so get at here is that it's difficult. Like, I've never made a video essay before, and there's a bit of intimidation to that. There's a bit of grandeur to even the concept of a small video essay. Like, they got their scripts, they got their graphics, they got research and planning. There's so much to it. There's always so much to it. And the thing is, like, I do struggle with making things. Well, I make a lot of things. However, things that require, like, effort are not easy to do and not something I'm very experienced in the art of doing. Things that take effort. It's quite tricky, you know? I've always wanted to make a video game. Many video games. And, like, I've made progress to do that. I've made one tiny game from a tutorial. I use a lot of level makers in games. And I've watched dozens and dozens of videos on how to make your first game. And I've gone through them and made partial progress on them. But I just like there's a game I'm making right now that hopefully I'll finish, but I don't know that I will. Oh yeah, this reminds me. Speaking of which, like, YouTube videos in particular, like, the music that I make, it's not that hard to make. I just sit down for an hour and make a song, and then do that a dozen more times, and spend however much energy you have to draw an album art, and then you upload it. It takes more effort than that, but not that much more. But what I was saying about this is, like, just yesterday I finished trying to film one of those 100 days videos just because I was bored. We should normalize doing things because you're bored. Or so they say. But I tried to do a 100 days video, and I finished filming it. And then I sat down to edit it, and it just, upon the realization that I had given myself hours and hours of footage to work through to produce this video, and then to go over it again with commentary, is just, if I actually try to do that, it will take likely months, or I'll do it in less than a month, and have so much less sanity. I cannot sit down and wade through hours and hours of footage. Let's make a lectern. That's just not something I can do. At least at this point, that is not something I have the skills to do. But I like making YouTube videos, at least conceptually. It's not easy, but, well, it depends. This is a much easier thing to make than, like, that 100 days video I was talking about. I know theoretically that the lesson that I would end this video on would be like, oh well, it's difficult, but you just gotta do it, and like, that is true. That is true, I think. You do just kind of have to push yourself to make something. No matter how small, you have to push yourself until you make something that's complete. Just don't, like, go overboard or exhaust yourself, but push yourself until you make something complete. And that'll make it easier the next time you try to make something of that category, or just anything in general that takes effort. And like, yes, I agree with that, and that's a good point, but like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do that on. I don't know the plan. And, like, the answer to that is, like, just don't plan it, just start doing it. But it's not like that's easy. That's far from easy. Where do you find the energy to do that? Where do you find the energy for that? And I have no idea. I have no idea where one is supposed to theoretically find the energy to do that. And it's just like... so many people... well, there's so many video essays out there. And you always have to wonder, like, how did they will themselves to do that? I guess, like, a part of it is just working through figuring out how to remove that psychological difficulty to it. Like, it doesn't have to be difficult. You can convince yourself that it is less difficult. You've already convinced yourself that it is very difficult. You can convince yourself that it is less difficult. And, like, yeah, that's true, but also, that's another case of how. How are you meant to convince yourself of that? Because it's not like it's easy to do. And I don't know how to do that, in truth. But, like, another issue is, how do you decide what to do it on? Because it's like, there's so much of an idea built around the first of something. The first of anything always tends to feel like a big deal. Because, like, it's never been done before, or at least, it's never been done before by you. You've never made a video essay before. So, look, it's a big deal. It's the first one. You have no clue what you're doing. You're going into it blind and all that. All the stuff they say. Or that you say, more accurately, to yourself. It's not like any of it is really easy. It's just like... the video essayists, they always say something like, well, I got an idea, and I started writing things down about what I'd like to do with the idea, and then I started filming, and I voiced it out, and I used such and such for the green screen, and I used such and such editing program. But that's not really the difficult part. Oh yeah, I left a cat here. I forgot about that. Let's just leave this little fella over here. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so, yeah. There's also, like, the graphics. They're so cool from a graphic standpoint. And, like, graphics are always easier than people make them out to be, but they still take time. Like, it's way easier than it seems to make a single good graphic, but to make a bunch of graphics for a whole video, it takes a lot of time. Tons of time. But, like, does it really feel like a video essay if the video portion is not up to snuff? That's a difficult question. Another one, a crucial one, is, like, what you talk about. Because, like, sure, there can be plenty of ideas. Like, okay, let's take, for example, Fortnite. Weird choice, but I know. Fortnite. What do you talk about? Okay, of course, there's the commonly discussed topics of, like, how it stays ever relevant-ish by its constantly changing format and new mechanics, and the company is never afraid to completely change the game and take massive risks to make it constantly feel fresh. And, like, yeah, that's interesting, but do I want to talk about that? Not really. Another thing, like, there's so many weapons and items in Fortnite that you could discuss. But, like, how do you choose one? What do you compare it to? How do you explain it? Like, okay, there's this one weapon that used to be in Fortnite, like, a year or two ago. It was a katana, and you could dash with it as if you were, like, think of, like, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that one move that Sephiroth has, where you can point an arrow, a radial arrow, and then he will dash in that direction. It works just like that, except it's the direction you're facing because it's in first person. And, like, it does such and such damage. But, like, why? Why are you discussing that? What's the point? What is the point to the topic you are discussing? That's always crucial. What is the point? It feels like you can get ideas that match some of these. Maybe you can think of an idea that you know the point of it, and you have ideas of, like, what other topics you could bring up in relation to it. But, like, how do you structure it? How do you structure it? I'm sort of rambling a bit here. I'm always rambling, but I'm rambling a bit here. And losing my train of thought. It's like, how do people do so much stuff in general? How do people pull off that action of doing things that are difficult? How? It's like, theoretically, it's just do it, as I mentioned, but, like, the building up of an idea of it being difficult makes it difficult, and sometimes it's, how do you do difficult things often? I mean, sometimes it's easy to do difficult things when I'm bored, but never the things I want to do. Really. The things I want to do, but only to alleviate that boredom. It's just like, it gets down to even, why make video essays at all? Why do I want to make video essays? And it's like, my first thought is just, they're cool, and I guess I want to discuss those interesting topics. I I've stunned myself into silence a bit here, because, like, why do I want to make video essays? That's not something I think I've ever thought about. I mean, like, they're cool, but just because something is cool is not really a reason to want to make it. What is the point you're pointing out? with the video essay. And it's like, I guess there's a sort of jealousy that people made such a cool thing, so I want to make such a cool thing too. And it's like, why make anything, really? Because, like, the only things I've really genuinely managed to make are things that I have fun making. And the main reason I'm making them is because the act of making them is fun. But sometimes there are things you want to make that aren't fun to make. And that raises the question, why make them at all? That sounds like a stupid question. Like, it's like asking, why do difficult things if they're difficult? It's because there's some value to them that is worth the difficulty. But what is the value here? What is the value of these video essays I want to make? And it's like, I guess, vaguely, it's self-expression, in a sense, and sharing thoughts with people is interesting. Making points, I guess. The only thing that I'm really latching onto here is that self-expression. Okay, so let's think. There's another type of video, or more so a just specific YouTuber's style of video. I don't really know how to describe it other than, like, I guess vlogs-ish. Pretty much, technically speaking, I think they'd be vlogs. But, like, okay. Have you ever heard of the Pokemon channel? I think it's called Absol Blogs Pokemon. It's very cool. I really like the blogging-esque style of those videos. And, like, I really like those vlogging style videos. Like, there's this game design, well, not really game design video, but game making video by, I think it's like 3 Clicks Philip, or whatever, or 2 Clicks Philip, who made a series of videos about his game making journey. I've watched that series at least 4 times. I really like it, and I really like that style. Like, there's something to be said about the genuinity, I guess? People always use the word genuinity to it, but that's not fully what I'm talking about, or at least the meaning I perceive from that word is not what I'm talking about. I'm more so talking about this sort of, like, this is what it means to me, sort of thing. This is something very personal to me, or at least something that I care about, and I'm sharing my thoughts on it. And, like, that's a growing trend with YouTube videos that are popular, of people making ones that are genuine, and they get popular because they're genuine. Growing trend that, like, in response to, like, Mr. Beast style videos, for example. It's something many people have observed. But, like, those videos, like this one, where people just sit down and talk about something without a lot of editing and just sort of rambling like I am here. So basically what I'm doing here is not really something I would want to watch, personally. You're already pretty far in this video. Vague idea of a viewer, because I am filming this to an audience of no one. But there's the vague impression someone will watch it, and then that will be the audience that I am talking to. But I'm not really talking to anyone right now. I'm just rambling. And then the rambles might be seen eventually by another living being. Theoretically. But I guess there's a connection between my favorite video essays and those vlogging style videos. There's the only word that's coming to mind really is genuinity, maybe personality, but not really, but a little bit. But personalness, the creator's expression upon it, is like the main selling point to it. And there's this common advice I've heard from places and people, like, it's basically, make something that only you can make. I don't know who first said it, but I've heard many say it. And it's, yeah, that's going to be valuable to someone, because people are valuable to people. I'm going a lot between, like, poetic and nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but just poetic and nothingness, I guess. But not nothingness in the way that, like, AI art is. Nothingness as in stalling, I guess. Hesitation, even. But it's just, there's a level of intimidation to making any YouTube video, in my opinion. At least in my experience. Because you're posting something to the world that you put effort into. And the more personal it is, the more intimidating it is. Because, like, what if you get judged? What if it's not to your standard, and your first videos likely will never approach your standard, and they frankly, it usually probably is a good idea for them to not approach your standard, just so that you'll get them done, or to lower your standard. But where was I going with this? Just taking something that doesn't meet your standard, and then showing it to other people well, it's naturally gonna be intimidating. Because it doesn't meet your standards, so your brain goes, well, why would it meet theirs? And in truth, generally, the more you think about something, oftentimes, at least at the upper limits of thinking about something, it will fall in terms of your opinion of it. There's some things where the more you think about them, the higher your opinion gets, but everything, if you think about it enough, will fall below your standard. And for things that are made by you, your standard is, well, not your standard, but your expectation of its quality is lowered to match your expectation of your self-worth in that regard. And most people, at least on the internet, seem to have very low self-worth. But it goes back to that point of, you just gotta do it. and be proven wrong. But, like, you're not generally gonna be fully proven wrong, really ever, in that regard. Oh, cat. But what I'm saying is, like, when you start on YouTube, you have 0 subscribers. I have 45 subscribers from the videos I've made at this time, and that's fairly low. That's still a lot, in terms of, like, if you invited all your subscribers to a party, that would be a party. That would be quite a party, indeed. But, like, you're realistically very rarely gonna be proven wrong unless your standards are drastically lower than... Well, unless your standards are exceptionally lower... No, what am I saying? Pretty much. Unless... Let me put this... Unless your self-worth is exceptionally lower than your quality of what you make, you're realistically only going to be proven wrong in that regards very rarely. I know people who have terrible self-worth, but they're proven wrong in terms of their quality. And, like, the quality of a thing you make, assuming you're a generic internet person in the target audience of this video, or more accurately, unless you're overconfident for whatever reason, which is not that common in the internet age, at least for the type of audience likely to watch this video, then your things you make will usually be better than you think they will. This isn't like an all the time thing. There's no piece of advice that's always true. And even that piece of advice isn't always true. This is a very scatterbrained video. But I guess what I'm saying is just, you have to make something that's personal to you and only you can make, in a way. But you have to account for the energy you have to make it. And I don't know, you have to figure out that balance, and sometimes it takes some work to have there be a balance at all. But if you want to make something, you have to make it. And that doesn't really get you anywhere from where we started this video at. You have to figure out why you want to make something. And then figure out the least effort you can do to achieve that. Figure out the least work you can do to achieve your goal. And that's not easy, but you just gotta do it. And now, like, the length of this video is approaching too much for my current energy to edit down into a normal video. Or at least the type of video I'm trying to make here. So, I guess I'll be ending this here, but things don't generally, in real life, reach a specific moral cleanly. It takes a lot of trimming down and smoothing of the edges to make a moral to take away from something. And that's not to say those morals are bad, but there's just, keep all this in mind for creative endeavors and really anything you want to do that takes effort. You have to personalize it to what you can do. That's